Hello everyone and welcome to Stoked, the ultimate Star Trek online podcast. My name is Chris and good morning to everybody who's joining me in the JBLive.tv IRC chat room over here on a Saturday morning. Good morning chat room. And good morning to all of the folks who joined me over at Quark's bar on Tribble. Apologies, the devs seem to be attacking us with a Borg invasion right now, but we'll power through it. You guys continue to defend them off. You keep me alive so that way I can do the show, okay? So you guys in Quark's bar have to keep me alive. That is your objective. And in the chat room, you'll be my brain. You'll help me get things right as we go here and supply immediate information into the show as we record it, so thanks to you guys. Now, we've got a fun show coming up. We're going to cover more of the STF stuff, because, you know, that's changing as we go to free-to-play, and we'll also cover some of the things that you need to do to prepare for the free-to-play conversion in the community feedback segment towards the end of the show. Oh my goodness, there is some shenanigans going on over at Quark's bar right now. Quark's bar is messed up. All right. Well, while that epic battle continues to go, hopefully I stay alive there. I'll tell you about some of the news items. We're going to skip the regular news roundtable today, and instead we'll cover just a few of the items that I liked quite a bit. First of all, we've got a new patch over on Tribble with lots of goodies in there, so go check the show notes for that link, because there's tons of stuff you'll want to just read on your own. But up first, why don't we talk about something that maybe has a few people a little down. I've talked to people in the chat room and people in the Jupiter fleet and Jupiter Force fleet and, of course, people here that are playing the game. And I know some people were a little bummed out by the fact that the Borg invasion, the Defera ground invasion zone, has been moved to only 3 times a week on Saturday, once for each major time zone, Pacific, Eastern, and GMT. Some folks were a little bummed because that's kind of like the new content that they've gotten their hands on that they've really enjoyed, and now it's sort of been taken back. But I think what it really is an effort to test the event system with a large turnout, sort of like we have going here. And they just wanted to make sure they could run it through its paces when they have a lot of people show up for once. So by moving it to Saturday and consolidating it like that, you're kind of guaranteed for that to happen. That kind of thing I think we'll expect to see tweaked over time, though, so I wouldn't get too upset about it. Another thing that came out as a post here from Jesse Heinig is that all missions that had unique item rewards before, you will now get level-appropriate versions of those items. So that even means like VAs and things like that. You want to go back and replay some of those lower-level missions? Guess what? You actually get a goodie for it that is right up your alley. A couple other new things we got are some UI changes. The login screen now looks a lot cooler. As for the Klingons, you get a nice new Klingon bridge. And for the Fed officers, you get a very fancy-looking Defiant bridge. Man, I want to get my hands on that Defiant set. I got to see that while I was down at Cryptic, and I want to run around in that so badly. Just a quick update in Quark's bar. Fire has broken out, and they're busting out Hordas. So I think things are going a little rough in there right now. Boy, yeah. Look at this. This is not good. Well, defend me, boys. Just keep me alive. That's all. As long as we get through the segment, we'll be all right. We don't want to have any death before the end of the segment. All right. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is the new compass that made into the game. So along with the UI changes, we now have a compass. If you look at the very, very top of this screen, you will see a little tiny itty-bitty directional indicator now that helps you find your destination. I think a lot of the other Cryptic games have this. I seem to recall Champions having some sort of compass. So it makes sense it made into STO, and it should make it easier for freepers to find stuff. The free-to-play players have, well, I know Cryptic is concerned that the free-to-play players will come into the game, and if they get confused or lost, they'll immediately just essentially give up because they don't have anything on the line. They don't got any skin in the game. They didn't have to spend $15 a month or anything. They didn't have to buy the lifetime membership to get in. So for them, it's not really worth it for them to keep digging in how to make something work. And I kind of grok that because my experiences with Conan and DCUO have sort of reflected that. I kind of hit just any particular wall, any particular barrier, and I just basically kind of give up, and I just put it down, and I get back into my game that I pay money for, or paid money for, STO. So I kind of grok what they're saying, and things like these little compass additions will help free-to-players feel like they're not getting lost in a really large universe. I think there's a little bit of concern about that. So those kinds of things will be addressed. We also have a couple of unofficial. Now remember, I did say unofficial. Tweet leaks! Tweet leaks! That's awful. I should just replace that whole thing. All right, first I want to give you a little sneak peek at the Borg Queen. You may have heard of this, but sometimes the devs will just show up with random Borg attacks, and Deep Space Nine seems to be a popular one. This one happened, I think, over the weekend. Props to a Jupiter Force member who captured this for us. I believe it was a Jupiter Force member. Zero Bang is the YouTube channel. Bang with a 4. And look at this. This is the Borg Queen they're attacking here. You just see her for a little bit because there's like 20 guys attacking her. But boom, right there. She's a big mama. And she's down. But pretty cool. So Gozer was there doing some testing, I would imagine, and thought he'd have a little fun with some of the people on Tribble. And so there they are, just chilling on Deep Space Nine. And he decided he'd spawn in the Borg Queen. Now, something else that I don't have a video for, but I do have a still shot for, is this ginormous Borg Gorn, also on Deep Space Nine. I'm guessing this is probably the same event, but look at that guy. That is one big Borg monster. You combine the Borg and the Gorn, and you get yourself one gnarly-looking foe. I kind of like to see him without all the effects going so I can see what he really looks like. But, yeah, just really awesome. And also, you know, really cool for the devs to come on Tribble and have some fun with the players and test some stuff. And they get to abuse their dev powers, and of course, the players enjoy the challenge. So that's all we have for news this week. Let's jump into Tactical View. And welcome to Tactical View. Silverwings joins me again. Welcome back, Silverwings.
Thank you very much.
And you're going to chat with us today about the Cure. And why don't we start with how it is today on holodeck for experienced players, and then we'll kind of transition into probably what they should expect once it goes onto Tribble, with a build that's on Tribble now goes to the holodeck.
Okay. So for Cure holodeck, just a quick recap. We go into space first of all and defeat a Borg patrol. It's very easy, very little tactics required. The main focus is actually on the ground, where we have to navigate four gates, which are held together by three to four transformers, which worker drones will try and deactivate from you, and Borg will beam in and try and stop you. Along the way, you'll gather samples and free prisoners, destroy a generator, and then you kill Armak the boss before being up into space, killing some Borg ships and saving some Klingons, finally ending in a carrier. That's just a quick recap. So for actual Tribble space, I've now realised that all SDFs require a 5-man team.
Oh yeah.
And for the space part, it's pretty much a combination of the final part of space, where we need to protect the Kang throughout the entire mission, and unlike before, it is not indestructible. Yes.
Right.
So, and the optional objective is in 15 minutes to protect the Kang and its health not to be reduced by more than 75%.
Have you had any troubles doing that 15-minute optional?
That is pretty simple. I've managed to do it with about 5 minutes to spare.
Oh, okay.
We have 3 cubes first of all, and each cube has a group of 3 primary nanite spheres which try to heal the cube, and then each primary ship has 1 nanite probe trying to protect it. So it's pretty much like Infected, where we had the gate, the transformer, and then 4 generators. So in this case, we now target the secondary nanite ships, then the primary, then the cube.
Right, that makes sense.
And each of the cubes will launch periodically a squadron of assimilated Klingon ships. I have seen a couple of different ways to do this, but my personal preference is to have one person go after Cube A, one person to go after Cube B, and the other 3 to go after Cube C. The first 2 groups will just take care of the squadrons and then join the main group. I've seen some people say, "Oh, I'm going to protect the Kang."
Yeah.
Well, great, but you're not using your DPS effectively. And it's a very simple matter of just targeting the secondary, primary, and then the cube. There's not really a great deal of problem with that. And once each cube is destroyed, you can go back, mop up any Klingon assimilated ships, and then move on to the next step.
Sure, yeah.
And like with Infected Space, abilities such as tractor beam repulsors and warp plasma work very well at deterring the actual ships.
Okay.
Once all the cubes are destroyed, we can then talk to the Kang, and that's when people will get their team loot. And then, as it is on holodeck, the carrier will decloak, and it's just a simple matter of killing it. There's not even a 30-minute timer as there was before on holodeck. It's just a matter of killing it.
Okay.
And usually AoE weapons are very good, effective against it, because it also takes out the support ships. But that's pretty much all there is to say about Kyo Space. It's a nice, short, and easy mission.
Yeah, I think what you've lined up sounds pretty sound. We're going to try it later today on the live stream, so we'll have the visuals for it. So we'll try that method probably later when we're doing our gameplay through. Okay.
For Tribble Ground, it's pretty much the same as holodeck. There are a few key differences, though, so I'm going to focus on those. The map duration has been reduced. This has been mentioned by some of the devs already. So instead of having 4 gates to navigate, there are only 3 now. The first one has been chopped off. And there's also fewer prisoners and samples to collect along the way. The actual shield puzzle, now we don't have Borg beam-ins, which is in some ways better. It's a lot easier now. However, now we've got the new Borg defense turrets, which is usually 1 or 2 per gate. And the strategy to this is they need to take so much damage, and then they will go into a hibernation mode, erect cover shields around them, and fabricate some defense turrets to protect it. So a typical tactic I found is for one person needs to go in and set the charge, which, by the way, you don't need to acquire in advance. You just have it automatically, while the other teammates will then focus on taking out the turrets, or at least distracting them, because if you get hit while setting the charge, it resets, and all this time the defense turret itself is healing. So you have so much time to lay the charge, and then you have to do more damage.
That's fun. That's a nice tweak.
And we still have the worker drones beaming in. So the standard tactic of having a focus on gate transformer 1, and then slowly spreading up to 2, then 3, and then 4 if there is one, that still applies. But I've not found it really a time-constrained task. So I found it's much simpler if everyone works on destroying the first automated defense turret before activating the next transformer.
Yeah.
Some people have rushed ahead, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 defense turrets that you've got to take out.
And then you find yourself overwhelmed. Yeah. So then do you find after that, does that take you to the boss?
Yeah. So after taking out the shield generator, which is the same as it was on holodeck, for Armech, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Before, what we would do is we could easily lure Armech away from the Borg.
Yeah, I was the bait last time, I recall.
Yeah, and we would spread out. Now he's erected a force field arena around him, which forces you to within 30 meters of him. And this makes it difficult to spread out, because then he can easily chain lightning attack you.
Yeah.
So a few tips I found for beating Armech. A medic is pretty useful, I would say, or a team with plenty of hypos. And the melee method, that also still works, however, because Armech can now assimilate people, and maybe having plenty of immunosuppressants would also be a good tactic as well.
So if you're going to go melee, make sure you have that and a healer, too. I mean, if you could have the healer step back and just keep healing you while you're up there whacking on them, that might help.
Yeah, it seems to distract him from using the chain lightning attack. And also for Klingons who have the full Klingon Honor Guard set, they have a adrenaline passive ability that every 30 seconds they can use as a free hypo, and that gives them root resistance as well. So you do get a bonus for getting the whole set. But one thing I have noticed is that people do tend to like using the pulse wave assault weapon. And as I've done my advanced combat tactics segment for long-range weapons, the pulse wave does have a particularly short range. So by using it, you do tend to force yourself into a situation whereby you could get a chain lightning. You might be better off with longer range rifle weapons or assault weapons and do an exposed exploit combo on him instead from afar.
Oh, good tip. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I know there's an optional in this one too, and it involves getting the turrets, right?
Yes, so you need to destroy all turrets within the 15 minutes. And just to clarify, the last turret is after the final gate. So it's at the T-junction where if you go off to the left, it's the generator, and if you go right, it's Armech.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
And one final thing is if you die while fighting Armech, you respawn outside the shield, which can be a problem.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So that's our look at the Cure. I'm looking forward to playing it later today. Hopefully we'll have lots of pretties that we just showed in the show from our gameplay on the live stream. Now, is there any notes like regarding like playing this on Elite or anything like that?
I don't believe so. I haven't been able to get a group together for Cure Elite, but from what I've seen and heard, it's pretty much a tougher version of holodeck.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that the ground NPCs, they're not usually full of elite drones. They're just a higher level.
All right, Mr. Wings. Well, thanks for coming on the show and covering the Cure. I look forward to talking to you again. What, are we going to do another segment next week? Is that the plan?
Yes, I've got the Kinema record lined up. That should be interesting.
Okay. We'll talk about the Kinema.
And after that, probably cover the STF gear and all the rewards with that as well.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, thanks for helping us get up to date. I think as people see these new ones, hopefully most people have gotten, they're really into STFs, have gotten their hands on them already. But if you haven't, hopefully these guides, once they do hit holodeck, will work great for you. All right, Silverwings. Well, we'll talk to you next week. Right. And welcome to Community Feedback. Now, thanks to everyone who sent in feedback last week, your positive comments and your rah, 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 you go. Those were all very inspiring, and thank you very much. We've been collecting those over the week and been reading them, and I don't know, it's kind of a nice booster. But this week, we want to focus on a couple of things because in just a few weeks, like probably by the time this episode comes out, like 2 weeks, the build on Tribble will be hitting holodeck, and there's a few things you need to know to get ready for that transition. So, Mav and Irish have joined me here in Community Feedback, and we're going to cover that. Guys, do you want to start with one thing in particular first?
Well, what we're going to start out with is the community request as far as, well, actually, we're going to hold that off to the second one. We're going to start out with how to prepare for free-to-play as far as what things you need to do and decisions you need to make before we go free-to-play.
Yeah.
We've been collecting this information, and I'm just going to kind of read it to you here so that you're aware of what we know and what we believe are the best steps to best prepare yourself from being a subscriber to go into the free-to-play system. Mm-hmm. First thing is, any character that has unspent VA or LG tokens should spend it before Tribble goes to the holodeck. If you're not a 600-day or more vet, or you're close to becoming one, and there's a ship that you want, available for holodeck, simply because things are going to change, those prices are going to change, and the tokens are being removed or modified.
Yeah.
If there's a VA or LG ship currently on holodeck that you want, and you have emblems to purchase it, do it now, because the emblem systems are going to be right out the window when we make the conversion. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be more expensive, and you're going to have less currency to work with to purchase the ship because of the conversion rate.
Yeah.
And we're going to really get into the conversion rate here. That's why I brought Irish on board to help us out, to help me understand it, because some people get it, I don't. I'm kind of out on the side here, and Irish is going to help us explain that.
Okay. Cool.
Also, the Advanced Heavy Cruiser and the Advanced Science Vessels, if you want them, get them now. You can get them for energy credits. They're going to cost cryptic points afterwards. So if those are two ships you want to play with, you might want to pick those up again before the changeover.
Yeah, get them while you can, while you can spend energy credits for them.
Energy credits, I'm right.
Yeah.
Stephen D'Angelo sent a message back on November about the C-store prices were going up and down. They won't go up onto holodeck until January 17th. But recently, because of the Thanksgiving Day sale posted on the 23rd, he said that he's going to increase the prices on holodeck the first week of December when the Tribble moves to holodeck build. Because of that, we don't know how the prices are going to affect everything when they go live, or just how high they're going to go. There's a link in the show notes that we're going to provide everybody to all the price increases, at least as they stand now. So you can decide how you're going to plan your C-store purchases, whether now or later.
Okay.
if you have a lot of emblems and other currencies, you may want to spend as much of it as you can on the things you want before Tribble goes to holodeck. The more in-game currencies you have, the more conversion rate and diminishing return you're going to have. And that's what we realize is that there's a factor of diminishing return during the conversion. And again, I'm going to digress that to Irish here shortly.
Okay.
Also, if you enjoy running the STFs, you may not want to worry about purchasing the equipment and gaining dilithium now, because the new STFs on Tribble offer a much better loot rate than what's currently available on holodeck. So if you haven't done them yet, hold off, wait for them to change. You might get better luck and better loot out of it in the end run.
Yeah, you know, the STF loot is some of the stuff that I'm probably going to be focusing on the most. The lithium conversion stuff almost becomes a little bit less of a concern for me, because I think that's the gear I'm going to want, is the STF gear.
Zorn just said something. Did they remove Saucer Step? No, I don't believe they removed the Saucer Step, just to let you know from the chat room. You may want to get your Fed characters to Diplomat now, because it's going to take longer now once the Tribble comes out than it did before. And that's only because the missions that were available before now take twice as long at least to go through, plus the timing has been reset on them. So if you haven't done Diplomat by now, get it done if you're close. If not, you might want to just wait until it comes out.
Okay.
There's one balancing factor there as well, which is that now that you've got Diplomacy XP from the DOF system, we don't know yet, but that may offset some of the delays from having increased tiers.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. The increased tiers plus the DOF system may help you, especially if you're a heavy DOF user, which I was. You can get to Diplomat at a pretty good speed.
Yeah.
Just the old-fashioned way versus the new way, if you do it by the missions, it's going to take you a little longer, unless you're a heavy DOF user.
But and of course, I think most people probably use a mix of both.
Right.
So it won't go so slow. It'll go pretty quick.
Right, the ambassador, I'm sorry. If you want certain Tribble pets for your account, this one was someone that we've tested. You want to get them now while they are account-wide unlocks. Once the changeover occurs, Tribble pets are going to be on a per-character basis.
Right.
Now, for those people that already have them unlocked, and we've discussed this in the past, you will be able to still have them account-wide. But for those new people who are like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to get that, get it now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to change. And if you think about it, buying it once and being able to have it on all your accounts in one shot is a lot better than having to buy it one at a time. However, I think we determined that when it does go where you can purchase it more than one, when it goes per account and not, per character, not per account, you might be able to pick up multiples and arm all your buffs with Tribbles, although I haven't tested that one just yet.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, if that works, that'd be cool. So the big change is, just to recap, so the big change is that Tribbles are going to go per character, not per account anymore when you buy them from the C-Store.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the last little bit, this goes more for the crafters, and I'm a crafter, so these changes were definitely important to me. All crafters craft as much as they can now while it only takes samples. When the changeover occurs, you're going to start incurring a dilithium bit cost into your crafting. Now, for me, I became a master crafter on Tribble before they instituted this change. Now, to craft stuff after they instituted the change, I fell for sticker shock, because I was like, well, because now it's going to cost me dilithium out of my own pocket, not out of somebody. Say if I'm crafting for a fleet mate, now I have to wait.
All right, so that's good to keep in mind. Now, I know the dilithium stuff is its own beast. Irish, do you want to cover the dilithium stuff?
Oh, very much so. We've been looking at this quite a lot over the last 3 or 4 weeks, specifically at the conversion rate, who's getting what, why you're getting it, how you're getting it, that kind of thing. But it kind of got superseded in the last week or so. There was a thread posted by a guy called Phyrexian Hero. If I get that spelled wrong or pronounced wrong, let me know. He's been talking with mainly Silverwings in the fleet here to get some details about it. But what he's done is he's put up a spreadsheet that everyone can use. I'm going to put a link, obviously, in the show notes for the people watching the taped version, but for the live stream, it's going in the IRC chat now. That's the link there.
So they can follow along with those complicated math bits in the chat room.
But this is even better, because you can pretty much ignore the math I'm going to go through if you want it, and just go to the spreadsheet, plug your numbers in, and see what you're going to get.
Okay.
It's a very, very good spreadsheet. He's done the formula, and he's worked out the exact formula being used.
Oh, okay. So people will be able to plug their own numbers, and that's nice.
Yes.
Yep, that's what I've been doing. Remember we did a test a few weeks ago where we took one character with only emblems and did it? It got the same result. So to me, that's good validation. And he worked it out with, from what I heard yesterday, 30 to 40 data sets from different characters to get the formula cracked.
Oh.
All right, so the first thing he's got is the merit conversion rate. is 1 merit is equal to 0.168 dilithium. The more important one for most of the higher end players is going to be the emblem conversion rate, which is 1 to 336.
Okay, 1 to 336 for emblems to dilithium.
Correct.
Which is interesting considering the rate we saw over on the formula or on Tribble was 480 was what we expected. So for a full conversion, it was 480. But in this conversion process, you're losing 30% of that. You're getting 336. So we weren't too far wrong with that number either.
Mm-hmm.
The next piece he's got down is for exchanging your marks. You're going to get 201.6 dilithium per mark, and that's Valor, Honor, and Exploration. So you can see it gets quite heavy on numbers, but we're still not into formula yet. The next one he's got up here is badges and medals. All types are going to swap in, and it's 1 to 13.44. And then he's got a very nice little cap at the end of it to explain comparatively what they're all at, which is that line there, which is 6,000 merits is equal to 3 emblems, which is equal to 5 marks, which equals 75 badges, which equals 75 medals, which is 1,008 dilithium.
Holy smokes.
That one line there, you've got everything layered out for you.
Yeah, just
if
all layered out.
If you don't want to go into the math, just layer that off.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do it my way, just use a spreadsheet, because a spreadsheet, you don't have to know any of this.
Yeah, I like that. So definitely put a link to that in the show notes. So 600 merit equals 3 emblems, which equals 5 marks, which equals 75 badges, which equals 75 medals, which equals 1,008 dilithium. Yeah.
Now, that's kind of interesting news, the math, that's the basics of it. Now we start getting into the stuff that's under the hood that's going to annoy a lot of people, I think. The first thing we talked about there was you lose your 30%. When you convert, you're not getting the 480 you expect for the emblem, you're getting 336. Straight away, you're at 70% of your overall wealth. So if you had X number at 100%, you went over it, you've now got 70% of that wealth from the first step. Now, when the conversion kicks in, the diminishing returns formula happens. So to use the actual words that the guy's written in here for X in Hero, it says the formula uses a fixed rate of 1 emblem to 336 dilithium. Those who would make it over the 160k dilithium from the formula. So the formula is based around 160k. As soon as you go over that, you start losing 20% of whatever you were converting to diminishing returns. All right, so let me just pop that line in there. And then the cap to it is, here's the nasty bit, is if you go over the ore cap of 384k, then you start losing 60% of your conversions.
Wow.
So I'll just put that into the chat room there now. That's the exact wording from FireX in Hero. So you're getting a triple punch here. You're first of all getting 70% of the value of the emblem based on the current price. You're then losing 20% if you go over this 160k for diminishing returns, and then if you go over the ore cap of 384k, you're going to start losing 60% of your conversion points. Now, there's a few guys we know in the fleet who have banked up emblems. They grind these things daily and have been doing so pretty much since they were available. So you're probably talking a year and a half or more of work. Look at how hard they're going to get hit with the higher number. The spreadsheet's very handy for doing this. I went in and threw the basic character we tested a few weeks ago who had nothing done, but he got his 500 event reward. His 250 emblems converted over to around, I think it was about 80k. So for him, it isn't bad. He actually loses nothing to diminishing returns because he didn't go over the 160 transfer. He loses nothing to the ore cap. So he pretty much transfers as is and only loses the initial 30%.
Right.
Now, I believe Silverwings, he just had on doing the cure. He's clocked up over all of his accounts somewhere in the region of 2,000 emblems. So if you actually take the spreadsheet, which I'll do now, and I'll pop in just on the bottom row of it there, 2,000 emblems, what it tells me is refined dilithium, I will get 364,800, which is the 364k refined dilithium cap. The orc gets me up to 204,000. So as a total, I'll be getting he'll be getting 570k. But the next two boxes in the spreadsheet are quite interesting. Loss due to diminishing returns on that transaction was 102k. Loss due to being pre-F2P, so pre-free to play, 288,000. So on that conversion, he actually lost, in addition to the initial 30% drop, 390k of dilithium from what we'd expect as a proper conversion rate or a full conversion rate. That's the kind of numbers that are stinging people. So when you look at it, it has down, the conversion system means he loses 40% of the value from what he had before he transferred.
Wow.
Now, this has been going on in the background. It's what I call less sexy math. So what's going on with this stuff is it's been sitting in the background. No one's really dived on it. Firexian Hero and I think Alt exists as well for the economy stuff with the caps and the ceilings. have come in, they've done this work, they've worked out the mathematics to it, and they've given people that spreadsheet to take the math out of the equation. So it's a case of go in, get your character, plug it in there, and expect it.
So it does the hard work for you.
Exactly. And, well, they've already done the legwork. The real catch to this is going to be, Stormshade made the comment of, we know it's coming. It's being referred to as a dilithium tax. Officially or unofficially, it's out there. So it's going in. We know when it's going in, which it looks like right now is probably the first week of December when holodeck gets over to Tribble. And that's also coming with the comment from earlier in the intro segment where you're going to have the C-Store changes in terms of pricing. A month earlier than we were expecting. We were expecting that from Stephen Jangelo's comment to be out in January. So you basically have a situation with the free-to-play guide of what to do before it comes in. It isn't just January 17th we're talking. We're now talking the first week of December.
Yes.
For long-standing players, you need to take a look at this. Get yourself prepared in terms of what to expect if you wait too long. But it really is looking like a case of you may want to spend and get some assets before you transfer over.
It's like tax write-offs. Get them in this tax year before before the tax day arrives.
Exactly.
For the end of the year, yeah.
So that's pretty heavy. But the spreadsheet, if you go by the spreadsheet, everyone will be able to figure out what way it's going to affect them.
Yeah. Right. Boy, oh boy. All right.
And we understand, the community wanted to hear this information. We understand, they were itching at it. The reason why it took us so long to cover is we wanted to make sure we had the best possible information, the most accurate information, at the time of press for this.
There's been a lot of conversion formulas floating around online that haven't been accurate. But we're pretty confident this one's accurate, right?
Yeah, and the guy who created Phyrexian here is in the chat room right now.
Right. Any questions about the formula of Phyrexian here is the guy you want to talk to about it. He's available however he chooses. Plus also the
he's just available in the chat room at the moment.
Yeah, he's available in the chat room right now. I don't know how much you want to bombard him, how much, Phyrex, I hate to call you out on there. Welcome. That's the guy you want to go to for the spreadsheet. He's the one who really crunched all the numbers to get it as accurate as possible.
Cool. All right.
Now, there was one other item, but we're not going to cover it this week. And I hate to tease, but I'm going to. Some of you may know it. We're going to call this the exploit that should not be named. But I've heard it called Voldemort. We're going to cover that next week.
Yeah. So send in any thoughts or questions you have on that one. We'll chat about a little bit of that in community feedback. All right, guys. Well, so maybe if people want to chat some more about this, the best place would be jupiterforce.org/forum, you think? To chat with you guys some? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course,
people post in there.
They can always send in their email to STOked@jupiterbroadcasting.com if they have any thoughts that they want maybe read on the air or something for us to take into consideration. All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks. I feel like I'm a little more prepared. I've wrapped my head around a little bit what to expect on this conversion in the first week of December. So I'm prepared. All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
Excellent. You're welcome.
All right. Well, I believe that just about wraps up this week's episode of Stoked. Now, remember, Stoked comes out every Tuesday over at jupiterbroadcasting.com in just about any format you might want to get your little hands on. Also, when you're over there, there's the show notes, and we'll have a section there where you can sign up for the Jupiter Signal. That's the new monthly newsletter where we're telling you about all the awesome stuff we're working on, like a new show with the J-Man that might be in development. You'll find out about that in the newsletter. Or you can go to bit.ly/Jupiter Signal and sign up for that. We promise not to spam. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching this week's episode of Stoked, and we'll see you right back here next week. Here's a pro tip for you. Don't put your juice in front of your shield indicator, because then you can't see your shield status until you
until you're dead.
It was just his dying and then died for 14,000. Yay!
Oh, there went Chris.
Yeah, he keeps dying.
And that's why he died.
Gosh.
That's what I do.
Gonna be expected. I just expected this soon.
Everybody's going down.
He's about to get shot in the face.